Well, Anne, I have to tell you, in preparing for this interview, because I knew you were Scottish, obviously, from talking to you, I was like, what can I wear that's like Scottish? And of course, my search took me to the good old soap operas. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't find a Scottish soap opera. And so I just turned to EastEnders. Oh. And, you know. Yeah. And I was like, how do women in their 50s dress over in the UK? And this is what I came up with. Right. So do you like my look?
Yeah, very attractive, very attractive.
I couldn't find a hairnet. I was struggling, but I was like, oh, this will do.
Oh, I've got one in my bag. No.
Oh, do you? You just took your curlers out. I love it. Oh. So, before we kick off, please tell me about your fabulous self. So where did you grow up? Like, do you have siblings? Tell us all about you.
Okay, so I was brought up in Glasgow. I'm the youngest of 6. I did a lot of traveling when I was in my 20s. I used to work for BP Oil in corporate. I spent 4 years traveling around the world, trying to find myself.
Oh, so were you traveling with work, or were you just traveling?
No, that was just traveling.
Mm-hmm. Was that before marriage or after marriage?
It was before marriage. Mm-hmm. And then when I went back home, I met my husband. And we moved to Spain, and we lived in Spain for 3 years. Oh, then we lived in London for 7 years, and we've now been in Australia for 12.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I've travelled a lot.
And how many kids do you have? Or?
2 daughters.
2 daughters. And were they born here in Australia?
No, they were 7 and 8 when we first came out, but they're very Aussie because they don't really remember the UK, and their friends are here. They've been to school here. They're now at university.
Mm-hmm. So today's topic is really for women 50 plus.
Yep. And
we really want to talk to that amazing group. So I'm interested in your mother and your upbringing. And I wonder what the role of your mother was in the household when you were growing up.
Oh, that's a very interesting question.
Really?
I had a very 1950s mother. She looked a bit like you.
Fabulous, obviously.
Yeah, no, it was a very traditional upbringing where Dad would go to work early in the morning, come home, and by the time he came home, the hot dinner was on the table, the kids were all ready for bed, our hands were all washed, very orderly, you know. And there was part of me that admired that, but as my mum got older, I saw there was a bit of, like, she'd lost her own identity in that. That never really got an opportunity to flourish. And I didn't want that for me.
And that's so interesting though, because at that time, and please correct me if I'm mistaken here, that women's equality or women's liberation hadn't come through as strongly as it is now, because that was literally what the women did. They were housekeepers.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of men, they wanted to be seen as the breadwinner, because if they weren't, they were seen as not capable of supporting the family. I remember my mum telling a story that when I started school, I was 5, and she must have been just 40 because she was 35 when she had me. And she really wanted to go and work, and she didn't care what she did, even if it was just to work in a department store. She just wanted to get out and meet people and do something different. And he actually stood in the doorway and stopped her from it and said, no wife of mine is going to go and have to work. He saw it as a poor reflection on him being able to provide for his large family.
Like an insult to him.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because we so focus on women's liberation, but the male liberation comes with that.
It has an impact on men. Yeah, totally does.
Massively. And I was in the library a little while ago, and this man came up to me, and he's an older gentleman, and he's like, can you just help me with my computer? Or I don't even know how the conversation started, but it turned out there was something up with his computer and he couldn't figure it out, and I helped him, and he was 70. And I was like, wow, isn't it great how he's embracing this age? Yeah. And admittedly, women 50 plus have seen so much change happen so quickly. So can you think of some of the massive changes that you yourself have seen in your lifetime, and also that your mother would have seen? Is your mother still with us?
No.
No. That your mother, even before she passed, would have seen come through?
Yeah, I think things did begin to open up, but I think it was still very much that even when I left school, I remember it being that women would either be a nurse and the man would be a doctor, or the girls would, you didn't have girls in engineering and
it was secretary, wasn't it? Secretary, teacher, or nurse.
Yes,
yeah.
And so my mum did eventually end up working, but it was sort of like a home help or a cleaner or in a retail store, or it wasn't thought that they were smart enough, I think, or maybe just not educated enough. One of the things that I do remember is that she used to always wear like a skirt and a nice top. And as she got older, she started to wear trousers and flat shoes, like going for comfort rather than always having to look like the attractive housewife.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking that was so great to see her relaxed and be able to just wear trousers and comfortable shoes as she got older.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that before you mentioned it. With the trousers, because women didn't really wear trousers.
No, they wore dresses and skirts.
Yeah, because trousers were for a man, right?
Yeah.
You were a mother and a wife, and you kept the house and you helped, the kids grow up, and then you reached a stage where kids are now out and living their own lives. Your daughters are out being amazing women. Your husband still travels, you say, quite a bit. And you landed up with this empty nester situation. Tell me about that time for you.
Yeah, so we've travelled a lot, and we ended up with a very traditional marriage, even though when we met, we were kind of on a par with our careers. But then when I had kids and we moved, my husband became the breadwinner and I became the homemaker. And I have to say, I actually loved that role. I think we can feel very blessed if we look back and say, we had single years where I could travel. I then had the mother years, and now I'm moving into another phase. And I think if we don't see life as just one big, long, boring journey, but we can break it into smaller chunks, which are decades really. Like in your 20s you do that, your 30s you usually get married, 40s is all about the mortgage,
yes.
50s is reinventing yourself. I can't wait for 60 and 70 because I just think it's going to be lots of travel and we'll have more free cash and more freedom and so we got into that, and I was happy I love traveling, building a life here. Was part of a beautiful school community, did lots of voluntary work. And my husband used to say to me, you doing the voluntary work is on behalf of the family, because he never had the time to do it.
Okay.
But he afforded me to be able to do it because he was paying all the bills.
Yeah.
And then, but when that nurturing side of us, and I'm quite organised and stuff, I like having the house tidy and things planned.
Come round to my house. Anytime.
But then when that wasn't needed, I felt a bit lost. And I had made a lot of friends through the school community, but a lot of the other mums went back to work or they moved house. I wasn't bumping into them at the netball courts or the swimming lessons, so suddenly that community network started to diminish. And there was just and I was coming up to being 50, and there was just this realization of what's my life all about, because through all the voluntary work and looking after the family, I felt I had a real purpose. And then suddenly it was like,
now what?
What's my purpose? And I think you've probably heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So when our basic needs are met, and in this part of the world we all have, home and comfort and food and water and all the basics, then it's all about community. We need connection, and then our higher purpose. And so we're very privileged to actually get to the stage in life where we want to look at our higher purpose, because for many people, just getting a roof over their head is the stage of life that they're at.
Yeah, for sure.
But then with that came all this guilt because then I was thinking, well, I'm so blessed and I shouldn't be feeling miserable, and you know, why do I think my life has to even have a purpose? Why can't I just be? And I had this real internal turmoil going on.
Yeah.
And I found I wanted to cling on to my kids and their life. And then I thought, well, that's
We've all seen that. We've all seen that mother
Yeah.
who wants to, it's not pretty, right?
It's not healthy.
No.
It's not good for them, and it's not
Anyone
good for
in
us.
the audience doing it?
Yeah, it's just, it's not fair, that codependence thing. And a friend, I was moaning to a friend, and I was just saying, oh, and I don't see anybody, and I don't know what purpose is, and blah, blah, blah. And she challenged me, and she said, well, you have to do something about it.
Yeah.
And that was like just a awakening. And then I said to, and actually thinking about it was quite, I thought, yeah, I'll do it. And then talking about it, yeah, it was, but the actual doing it.
Yeah, I'm the same, man. I can talk any idea. I can get the world excited about something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This blade of grass is so amazing.
Yeah.
I can talk you into
Yeah.
such excitement, but doing something with that blade of grass,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
next step is
It's
often sometimes so challenging.
It's a huge leap. It's a huge leap. Because what happens is then all the negative self-talk comes in. So then it was like, well, who's going to want to hang out with me anyway? Who's going to come? Can I be bothered? Is it worth it? Nobody else feels like I do anyway. I can't tell people I'm lost and lonely because they'll all think I'm pathetic. And I had all that negative talk going on in my head.
And the irony of that, I find, is when we spend a lot of time by ourselves, the only conversation we often have is the one in our head.
Yeah.
So then, you know, that's just that bullshit that we tell ourselves, right?
Yeah.
But then if we were out, we'd realise that was not the case. But it's
Yeah.
that so it's almost like a vicious circle,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Until we get out there and do something, we realise we're not alone. But then when we spend so much time alone, it just goes round and round and round, doesn't it?
Yeah. Quite a negative spiral that
Yeah.
we can get into. Anyway, this friend really challenged me, and I thought, okay, so I just spoke to a few women and just said how I was feeling, and that was really a challenge to admit that, because I'm quite outgoing and friendly and wearing the mask. Everybody thinks your
Everything's
life's
fine,
great, and then I would
yes.
get home and take the mask off and fall apart and be in my daggy clothes and feel miserable. And so the first thing, I had 6 ladies and we got together and we just had a chat. But what I found in being open and honest in that was that it allowed others to be vulnerable and open up as well. And they were saying, oh, I feel like that too. Oh, I feel like that too. Oh, I feel like, and I was like, oh yes, I'm not alone in this. This is actually part of this stage in life. But it's kind of taboo. Nobody talks about it.
What do you? I'm always interested in reasons, right? What do you think the reason is? We as women don't feel comfortable going, actually, I'm not okay.
I think part of it is that we're always there for everybody else. We have that nurturing side of our personality or nature that it is to put other people first, and that I don't know what it's like in your family, but in my family, if I'm sick, everything falls apart, and it's like, why can't I be sick? It's sort of like the mother has this role of is the glue of holding things together, and we take that role seriously, I think. We are all conditioned. I think we're conditioned to appear a certain way and to give off a persona to the world of being able to cope. I think people don't like being around someone that's depressed.
Yeah, that's true, actually. And also, I'm just reflecting on my own self, in the sense that I have a real thing about being strong. Like, women have to be strong now, you know. We live in a time where we have to be strong and powerful. And that word vulnerable, when it comes up, I swear to you, I want to vomit. I want to vomit because I'm so programmed to be strong, you know. And that probably comes from my mum being a single mum for a long time, and she had to be strong, so I can trace it back. And I think there's also that programming from when we were kids, you know, seeing our parents, our mother being a certain way, and then sort of going, well, that's what we sort of relate that to.
Well, what popped into my mind when you said that there was that I felt for a lot of my years that kindness was seen as weakness, and that by being kind and giving and whatever, it was a bit pathetic. And so that be strong and girl power and everything was what we had to try and attain. But actually, as I've got older, I just think that's bullshit. I actually now just think the best thing you can do and the strongest that you can be is by being yourself.
Yes.
And so for me, if giving and being a bit vulnerable and stuff helps others, then that's what I'm going to be. And I think what happens with women, particularly when we get into businesses, we try and dress like men, we try and speak like men, we try and be masculine. But why the hell would we do that when we have got so many other beautiful skills to bring to every situation? And one of the things that I teach is the art of feminine leadership, or lead like a woman. And that's nothing to do with gender.
Yes.
It's not men and women. It's about the energy that you bring. You can get some very strong women that have got a masculine energy, and you can get some men who've got quite a feminine energy and who work really well with teams and understand, and they don't have that bullying,
the driving
macho kind
force.
of. Yeah. And I think what we need to do is, or what happens as you get older and you tap into who you really are and own that. And it's actually quite a painful journey to go through, because it's about growing up. I mean, I hit 50 and I thought, shit, I still haven't grown up.
That's interesting. So what does growing up mean then?
Taking responsibility for your own life, your own thoughts, your words, your actions, your behaviour, your outcome, everything. Just saying, owning where you're at. Because I think there's a huge tendency, and I did it for years, my poor husband was blamed for everything. You know, we can blame.
That's what husbands are for. I think my husband's around here somewhere, aren't they?
You know, we can blame and shame, and you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's great. Growing up is taking responsibility for yourself, and so often we don't. We blame kids, society,
circumstances, our parents, the government.
Yeah, the government. Who are these people really, or these entities? That's so interesting. So what did you do then to take responsibility for yourself? Because it's not an overnight thing, I imagine, for you.
No.
Can you explain for the women listening, like what steps did you take to take that responsibility?
Yeah, well, I think I realised it was quite, I don't know if humbling is the right word, but to be sitting on your own, knowing that you've got a very comfortable life and that nobody really needs you, even though my family would say, oh, that's rubbish, we do need you and we do love you, and I didn't feel that I had a place in society as I was aging. All the focus is on younger women or older men. You know, it seems to be this thing with older men with the grey fox and all that, the silver fox, whatever. And
that's true, right? When men get older, they become the silver fox.
They're distinguished.
And when women get older, they're just hags.
Yeah.
That's weird, right?
Yeah. So, and I don't believe that's the case now, but it boils down to confidence, I think. And sometimes we get our confidence through our kids or through our career or through having a big house or just our daily routine of, as long as I'm getting to work and I've got this routine, then I feel confident. But you strip all that away. I talk about stripping the layers of an onion to get right to the heart of it. But in among each of those layers is the dirt that's gathered as the onion was growing. And fleshing all that out, flushing all that out, cleaning it, and then rebuilding the onion back up with all the things, all the wisdom and all the things that you've learned.
Yeah, but it's really about coming back to self.
Yes.
So it really is about, I'm not a mother, I'm not a daughter, those are all roles that we played in our lives, and they're all external, but it is really about coming back to self. And that takes a while to unlayer, as you say, unlayer. And that means unlayering the programming you got as a kid, unlayering the self-talk, unlayering the beliefs. So much to unlayer. All that, and to just re-emerge as who you really are.
Yep.
And for me, it's not for me, it's a rediscovery because you were always here. Like
Yeah, that's
I'm always
right.
here.
Same person,
I
yeah.
haven't disappeared.
Yeah.
But it's just coming back
That's
to
right.
self.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it's such an interesting discussion, isn't it? And for someone, I don't know, for someone who's not in that sort of space, I wonder if that sounds really foreign. Like if you imagine yourself before you took responsibility, and I just said what I said to you now, how would you respond to that? Well, how would you have responded to that?
As in what you said about being true to yourself?
Yeah, and I'm peeling the layers and coming back to self.
I think what happens is life is busy. We race through life to deal with all the challenges that we've got. And it's not until all of that is not there anymore that we take that time. So I think someone that hasn't had that opportunity would probably think that just sounded really weird.
Yeah, like woo-woo. It sounds very woo-woo, like
Yeah.
what you're on about, right?
But I think what happens is that we lose sight of ourselves because maybe even as young people we didn't get to know who we really were. So it's not just rediscovering yourself in your 50s, it's actually discovering yourself for the first time when you've got time and you've got... There's one thing that I share that's quite funny, and it's when we've got young toddlers and our babies, we're encouraging them, you know, come on, you can walk, get up, do it. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you fall down, I'm going to help you back up again, come on. And then we say to them, oh, you're talking, you're saying mummy, daddy, whatever. And then we send them to school and we tell them to sit down and shut up for the next 10 years.
Yeah, yes.
You know? And then it's like you have to ask permission, you have to put your hand up, you have to, and we put everybody in this wee box. And if you want to get on, see, I think for me, it was like I became this good girl who would do what I was told and iron my clothes and be a people pleaser, and you know, and I can look back and say that now. I didn't know that at the time. I was just being who I thought was me. But one of the things I realised that happened over the years was that I always felt I had to ask for permission. And if I didn't get that permission, then I would feel that I wasn't being a good girl and people wouldn't like me, and it's taken me in the older years to think, well, if you don't like me, so sad, too bad, because maybe you're not meant to be in my life, or maybe we're not meant to do things together, or I didn't have the courage to do that when I was younger.
Yeah, it's funny because we were just talking before the interview and we were just discussing, you know, what was the joy or the best part of hitting 50 plus. And one of the things came, like, we don't take that bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
Like, our tolerance has disappeared. Like, it's almost like I've come in closer to myself now that I don't need to be who you need me to be. I am who I am. And it's that real pleasure of, fuck you guys, if you don't like it, this is me.
Stand up. So one of the things that I like to say to clients is you've got a choice and you've got a voice. And you need to use both. And I think I never used to think I had a choice. It just is what it is, and I have to make the best of what it is. But since I've realised, actually, I've got a choice. I've got a choice whether I stay with my husband or not. I've got a choice whether and I want to, by the way. I've got a choice whether I stay in this part of the world or move. I've got a choice whether I work to pay a huge mortgage or whether I live in a caravan. I've got a choice of whether I try and chase my kids and follow everything they do or set up my own life.
So tell me, what steps did you take to take responsibility for yourself?
I think one of the big things was holding up a mirror and looking and saying, what is your real truth? You're all about, you know, the hot red truth. And looking at the situation I'm in. I'm in this situation based on the choices I've made through my life. And a really good situation, by the way. I'm not, you know, I've got a beautiful life. But I still felt unfulfilled and I didn't have this purpose. What are you going to do about it? And that's the hard, oh, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When are you going to do it? Oh, shit. That's the challenge. When am I going to do it?
So how did you get the courage to do it?
My friend challenged me, and I got together with a group of ladies, started to talk about how I was feeling. They opened up and said the same. And one of the women there said to me, there's a thing called meetup.com.
Yeah, Meetup. Mm-hmm.
And she said, you should start a meetup group. And I'd never heard of it. I really didn't know much about technology. It's like, whatever. Went home and asked my daughter. She helped me set it up, made it about women's self-empowerment. and in the first week, I had 60 ladies sign up.
Yeah, amazing.
And that feedback gave me the courage to, and gave me to sort of realise that I was on the right path, and there was other ladies that felt the same. And then I decided, it was sort of like, then my brain clicked into action. It was like, how am I now going to empower these other women? Because I'm not even really feeling that empowered myself.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I had studied NLP years ago. I've followed positive psychology. I've been in the sales coaching role. And what I learned through that was it's never about the product. It's always about the person. So someone's belief and their courage and their confidence. And so I thought, well, I can share some of that. And then I started to invite other women who were doing amazing things in the world to come and share with these women. And there's now over 500 members in the group.
Amazing. It's so amazing. So I'm going to take a step back, because statistics show that the amount of homeless 50-year-old women is astonishing. So what's happened is that they followed the rules, they did what they did, husband buggers off with the silver fox buggers off with the floozy, and she's left with nothing, right?
Yep.
So she's sitting back there and going, man, I don't have the skill because the world's moved.
Yep.
I don't have the confidence. What can we say to that woman who's sitting there going, yes, it all sounds very nice, but how am I going to do this?
Yeah. I think we talk about women empowering women and women supporting women, and I think we're really good at talking about it, but I don't know how good we are about taking action. And so I think we can achieve anything as a community. And I think when people feel supported, then they feel uplifted. And I really believe in us all rising together. And so, for example, this group that I run, I don't charge for it. It's my giving back to community. And actually that sounds altruistic, but it's not at all. It's actually very selfish, because I get so much pleasure from it that I just love doing it. But there are a couple of ladies that come and they live in a caravan park. And I know that some of the other women there know that they live in a caravan park, and they'll in their own nice way help them. And I also ask that the people that can just put in a donation, and that goes to the local women's shelter. Yeah. So even these women that are living in a caravan and don't have much can put in $1 to help other women who are actually in an even worse position than them, because at least they're not being abused. And so there's levels and levels and levels. And I think what happens is you discover where is your level, because we tend to think we don't have much to give. I mean, for me to sit here now, and this is my 4th year now of working as a coach and running this meetup. If you'd asked me 4 years ago, what difference can I make? I'd have been like, I don't know. But I haven't done it all. It was me talking to 6 ladies who encouraged me to then have 60 ladies who now are nearly 500 ladies, and everybody putting in. It's a bit like what you've achieved today as well. People want to volunteer. They want to be part of something. Yeah. They want to see change and to feel they belong and needed. And
what I hear the common thread you saying there is you have to speak up.
Yes.
You have to say, hey, there's no shame. Yep. And I'm okay. Yep. Hey, my husband went off with floozy. It doesn't matter, right? Yep. It's no reflection on you. Yep. But it is, because really there are so many free courses in Australia. Yep. Free courses, free computer courses, free everything. You can upskill, right? But really it is that community, that real, like, you know, reach out, like you reached out to your daughter and said, help me set this up. Yes. That's the key, and understanding that there's no shame. Yeah. Yeah. And there's, you know, and 50 is not a death sentence.
Oh my God.
If anything, it's like a liberation, right?
40, it's fabulous.
You know, it's funny that you say it's a new 40. So I have a bit of a gripe on this, right? Why can't 50 just fucking be 50? Yeah. Right? Like, seriously. Yeah. Because I'll tell you, I just want to break here and time out. Because this is where I think the ageist thing comes in, and we don't even consciously think about it, right? So I go to this event and I'm having a marvelous time and there's cocktails and I have a cocktail and I haven't had a cocktail for months and I'm like, woohoo, cocktails, yeah. So I'm like having a marvelous time and this young woman speaks to me and I'm speaking to her and don't know what it is, but she's, you know, having this life conversation with me. And anyway, and then the conversation comes up and I'm like, oh, look, I'm 41 now. And she says to me, really? You look a day over 30. And because I didn't want to badger this young woman because I can, I'm like, why the fuck would you even say that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm 40, I'm not 30, I'm not, you know, I'm 40.
Yeah.
But then you know how it's like, you're not a day over 30 suggests to me that 40 is not okay.
Yeah.
So you look
30.
like you're 30, so so you
That's
don't look your
acceptable.
age,
Yeah.
so you're okay. That's really that messaging.
Yeah.
I don't care, no one can tell me otherwise. That's subliminal messaging.
Yeah.
50s is the new 40s. Why? Why can't 50 just be the 50s?
Yeah, how that speaks to me though is I actually see it as quite a positive in that 40 used to be midlife because we'd on average live to we're about 80, but now we're healthier, we're stronger,
Yeah.
we're more agile, we're living longer.
Yeah.
So 50 is now midlife because we're going to live to we're 100.
Yeah.
I see doing what I'm doing for the next 30 years.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So
That's
but
how
I
I
wonder
feel.
if people do say that, like when they say, "Oh, you know, like 40s is a new 30," whatever, you know.
Yeah.
If that's not really what they mean, I don't think.
No.
You know, I don't know. I mean, this is just my personal gripe. I really have a gripe about this.
Yeah.
Because I think we live in a very, very, very ageist.
Oh, we do.
Dangerous. I'm scared to say society now, but we do live in a world where young women are worshipped.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm very conscious of these words that we use.
But it's up to us older women to turn it around. So it's up to us to say, I'll give you an example. So I had a girl come to me for coaching. She's 32 and we're working through some things and she turned around at the end of the session and she said, Anne, it's so lovely to have an older woman to give me advice. And I'm looking over my shoulder going, who the hell's the older woman?
You're talking to me, chick, are you sure?
Yeah.
Yes.
But I tell you what, it was a shock. It was a real shock.
Yes.
And in that moment, talking about having a choice, I knew my choice was I would either be like devastated or say, you know what, I'm going to turn this into a positive. She's right. I'm 25 years older than her.
The wisdom.
And I can bring the wisdom and the experience and the things that she yet doesn't have. Yeah. And so it's about us owning it. There's a lot of women out there doing it and saying, you know, older ladies and they're making a huge positive impact in the world.
Yeah.
But we can't just look at them. It comes down to each of us as individuals to make that change.
Yeah, and honestly, like to reflect, so sure, times have changed and I totally acknowledge that, right? But we're still women. Women still go through stuff, right? And for me, I love hanging out with women who are older than me purely because of their wisdom. Yeah. Because why do I need to go through that shit? If someone can say, don't worry about that, like that, you know what, you go ahead 55, 60, and that shit is going to be nothing in your life.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So there's real value in that,
Absolutely.
you know. And as you said, owning that wisdom, right? Yeah. And when people say to me, "Oh, you know, I'm turning 40," oh my God, I'm like, what are you on about? Like, the wisdom that truly comes with that. Yeah. Do I have the tits of my 20-year-old self? No. Is my bum sagging a wee bit? Yes. Okay.
Does it matter?
Does it matter? I can't see my behind, so it's behind me, right? I can see my boob push-up bras, like whatever, right?
Exactly.
But same. I just want to quickly come to this point because I think I have touched on it a little bit, but there's so many women that I've heard now that are 50 plus that say, I feel invisible in society. It comes up, I don't know, has anyone else who's 50 plus, do you feel invisible? No, you don't look like you feel invisible. You can tell though, like, I don't mean, like, you have pizzazz, right? Like, some women feel invisible, right? What's that about?
I wouldn't say it's 50s, I'd say it's more 70s.
Yeah.
The grey hair, they don't bother wearing makeup anymore, they become a bit plain and vanilla.
Yeah.
And that comes from the clothing, the hairdo, the makeup, everything just becomes more of an effort, because it's an effort. I think part of it too is that the way that we look, or society looks at towards the younger women, we're no longer of childbearing age. We're maybe, like, where women will look for an older man, men will look for a younger woman. So we're kind of caught between the two. And I think there's a huge place in society for women 50 plus, but it just hasn't quite been nailed yet to what it is. So if you've been a homemaker and the kids don't need you anymore, and your husband's been the breadwinner, he's the one with the superannuation, he's the one that's paid for the house, he's the one that's got the confidence, because when you're out in corporate and you're working, you've got all of that too.
Yeah.
I think if you feel invisible, then you've got to start looking inside, because it's not really it shouldn't be about what's going on outside, because you're not invisible on the inside. On the inside, you're you. Yeah. But you've lost sight of who that you is, and it's allowing that you to come back out and to step forward and to say, okay, here I am, how can the world use me?
Yeah, and also, like, I think one, it's a very self-centered kind of view, so it's a very self-indulgent view, where when we do spend too much time with ourselves, our world revolves around us. So that's and also though, I look, I'm always so reluctant to say this, but it is a cultural thing, because if I go to France and I see older women in France, there's just a difference. There's difference, you know. There's sounds like va-va-voom, and I'm grossly generalizing, obviously, right? There's just a different way of being, you know. Cuba, there's a different way of being, you know. And I think it is so much programming that we are told when you've reached a certain age, you are invisible. And if we don't check in, and we start believing that shit.
Well, that's right. And it's then not believing it. It's then saying, well, that might be right for all those ladies out there, but that's not going to apply to me.
Yes.
But that takes strength.
Yeah, and it does.
It takes a lot of strength.
Because then you think you divorcing yourself from belonging.
Yep.
And it is.
And getting approval.
And approval, right?
Yeah.
So there's a beautiful Mark Twain quote I read that said, if you find yourself agreeing with the majority, it's time to sit still and reflect.
Yes.
Because we're not all sheep.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That doesn't mean just because you're an individual doesn't mean you can't be part of a community, but you can be part of a community as an individual.
And that sums up beautifully when I say about looking inward, it's not about being selfish. It's about discovering who you are at a deeper level, because then you can give. What happens with a lot of women is we give from the surface. We end up exhausted, resentful, empty, and people still want to take. But when we've given and our cup's empty, really that's our fault.
Yeah.
Because people will keep taking while we keep giving. And I think what happens at this stage in life is you've actually got time and energy and opportunity to start reflecting. And it's a bit like, you know, on an airplane they say put your own mask on first, so that then you can breathe and you can help everyone else. Because if you don't, then you're struggling to help them and you're gasping for breath.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about at this stage of life, where it's not selfish, it's self-interest.
Yes.
Because I know now, I was quite negative, and I was definitely a negative voice in my husband's ear. And I know that it pulled him down, because he was like, well, I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to make you feel like you've got a purpose and that life's worth living. He you know, I've given you everything I thought you needed. My kids couldn't do it. It had to come from me.
Yeah.
But I had never been told that it was okay to put me first.
Yeah. No, and quite the opposite. Interesting.
But now, we've got a great marriage, we're doing dancing classes together, the kids come and go when they please, we go out for beers together.
We walk around naked in the house. Do your kids still live with you guys?
They do.
Oh my
yeah,
God,
do.
you do tell them. Naked zone.
Yeah, no.
No. So I want to play a little game
Okay.
because I want to do hot or not.
Okay.
So you've got not and you've got hot.
Well, I want the hot one. You get
Yeah,
it.
you hold both of them.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say a few things, and then your opinion. So you can put the signs out.
All right, okay.
You put out up hot or not.
Okay.
Okay. So we just want to give some women a bit of an idea, because some of them might be a bit lost. Okay.
Okay.
So they're like, am I hot or not? Okay.
Okay.
Wearing a brown Paddington Bear jumper. Not.
Unless you're 3. If you're 3 years old, that's fine.
Unless you're free. Pulling off a strapless top. Oh, la la.
Absolutely.
Swearing. No, this is we're on the fence. Coming from the good girl.
Yeah. Can I tell you a wee story about that though?
Yeah, go.
I never used to swear. And then when I hit 50, I thought, fuck this, I'm going to swear. And then, but my kids said to me, Mum, with your accent, it sounds really sweet. It doesn't sound brutish enough.
Just swear more violently.
So now I love it, yeah.
Oh, amazing. Tripping you over your own boobs because you're not wearing a bra.
Oh no. Although I have to say, I've never had that problem. Mine aren't big enough.
I know. But sometimes women just let themselves go and their boobs seem to like sort of go
Yeah,
down
down
their
it.
like
Yeah.
knees and then eventually knees on their boobs and stuff.
Yeah, nah. Not a good look.
Clip-on earrings. Clip-on
Yeah, they're
earrings.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big razzler dazzlers
Yeah.
or yeah.
They're so in fashion these
Bit
days,
of
right?
fun. Yeah, yeah.
And one last look. Checking out a younger man.
Oh yeah. No harm in looking. No harm in looking.
I
If
know.
the fellas can do it, then why can't we?
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
I know people want to know. So, tell us where we can get a hold of you.
Okay, so my website is just annemckeown.com and it's spelled ANNEMCKEOWN.com.
Yeah, we'll put a link in there.
Put a link in there. My company's actually called 2M Power, and it's the number 2, a capital M, because my 2 daughters are Maris and Megan, and my push was to be a good role model for them. I wanted to break the pattern. So they're the 2 M's in 2mpower.co. And if you want, you can download a free copy of my book.
Ooh, the book is called?
Take Back Control of Your Life Now, because that's what I had to do.
Amazing. Congratulations on writing a book. It's
Thank you.
Always a big deal, right?
Thank you, yeah.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
So, my final and always favorite question is, what is your red hot truth and how are you living it?
I feel my calling is to step up, speak out, and help other women do the same. And I'm doing that just how I encourage ladies on a day-to-day basis, plus through my coaching business, plus through my meetup group.
And also, I think, purely through your life.
I hope so.
You know, sometimes
hope so.
I've been in there where I want to change the world and I want to, but sometimes your life is your greatest example.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you, Anne, for the pearls of
Thank you
wisdom.
so
Thank
much.
you, everybody. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, everybody.
Hello, fabulous woman on fire. I trust that this interview helped you get closer to your red hot truth. So give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. Thank you for supporting the Red Hot Truth, and we'll see you next time.